40 passes against the top secondary in the league. And we have the worst wide receiving core in the league. But for some reason, Doug Peterson decides to pass the ball 40 times. Actually, more than that. I think I heard on the post-game show that it was 47 times, but some of those were, obviously penalties that were called back. Pass didn't count. But 40 counted times we're passing the ball against the league's top secondary and the league's top defensive coach when you had a bye week and you had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. And oh, by the way, you're down 7 points. You're not down 20 points. It's a 7-point game for most of the game, most of the second half. And we're passing the ball 40 times. The last time the Eagles scored a point in the game, first half, long scoring drive. I believe they said something along the lines of that was the longest touchdown scoring drive against the Patriots in however long it was, some ungodly thing. And why did they score? Because they had balance on that drive. They ran the ball, they passed the ball. They were precision perfect on that drive. And it was all set up because they ran the ball. And I get the fact that Jordan Howard was out with injury. And it was a big loss, a tremendous loss, because he has been the team's best running back this season. And in the games that the Eagles have won, he has had a big role in it because they did elect to run the ball and have a balanced attack in those games. So it was a big loss that he wasn't on the field tonight. But I'm not using that as an excuse. What was it that they did a few years ago when they won the Super Bowl? Next man up, right? All we got, all we need, right? Family, all this, the next man up mentality, right? So you don't have Jordan Howard. I know that's a big loss. But you still have capable backs in Miles Sanders and Boston Scott. Give them the ball. You have a run-blocking offensive line. I know they lost Lane Johnson to concussion protocol, and that was a tough one. That was a big blow. Vaitai comes in there and plays right tackle in his absence. But you can still run the ball. And you're down 7 points. And part of the reason why they got behind, by the way, when they were up 10-0 in the game, and I know it was early, and you're not going to say 10-0 game over, particularly with number 12 back there for the Patriots. But the fact of the matter is, you're up 10 points. The next how many drives, you're going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. You're giving the ball right back to the Patriots time after time again because all you're doing is throwing the damn ball. And I don't care what defense you're going up against. If your offense is one-dimensional and that's all you're willing to do, it's easy to defend. And oh, by the way, you don't have a good receiving core. And all a defense is going to do is try to take Zach Ertz away, which, by the way, he had a decent game. But Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, because they're your best receivers, a good defense is going to try to take them away and make other guys beat you. And guess what? Those other guys on this team are not going to beat you because this receiving core is a hot mess. Stone hands, all of them. And yet you still pass the ball. Pass. Carson Wentz holds on to the ball too long. I get it. No one's gotten open. Carson Wentz needs to make some plays with his feet. They need to have some designed rollouts for him. A la how these other teams do with these mobile quarterbacks. Yes, they're faster than he is. But you see what the Ravens do. You see what the Seahawks do. We'll see what the Seahawks do next week with Russell Wilson, league MVP. You see what the Chiefs do with Mahomes. You see what all these other teams do with mobile quarterbacks. Their designed runs. Their designed rollouts. Again, Doug, I don't know. I don't get it sometimes with him. I just don't. It almost seems like we have the Brett Brown of football coaches, although Doug did win a Super Bowl. But he's so damn stubborn. It's the same thing over and over again. When you have something that could be a success and you don't use it and you fail to use it, more times than not, you're going to lose the game. And that's exactly what happened tonight. Look, it was a winnable game. But besides the fact they passed the ball 40 times, it was a winnable game. The Patriots scored 17 points. When you give up 17 points to an opponent, particularly at home, that's got to be a win. I said before, what did I say in the pre-vid for this game, the pre-game vid? I said this isn't the same Patriots team. Defensively, they are absolutely stout, particularly against the pass, and they get pressure on the opposing quarterback. But offensively, they're not as good. Finally, Father Time is starting to catch up to Tom Brady, and yes, he doesn't have a lot of weapons. Okay, they lost a lot of guys. To the point that the only touchdown they scored today was thrown by wide receiver, former college quarterback, but wide receiver Edelman. To Dorsett, who got hurt, concussion protocol on that play. He caught the ball, though. Patriots offense is not as good. They're beatable. This is a beatable team. The fact that the Eagles came into this game with a bye week, with 2 weeks of preparation, knowing how you got to play against the Patriots. The Baltimore Ravens gave the blueprint on how to beat the Patriots defense. You got to hit them in the mouth. Run the ball. Establish a running game. It will open things up in the passing game, and you can beat that team because they're not going to score a ton of points as they are currently constructed. Offensive line isn't that good on the Patriots. You can get pass rush on them. And the Eagles did a pretty decent job. Brady gets rid of the ball quick because he's a veteran. He reads defenses well. Eagles only sacked him once. They hurried him a bunch. They knocked him down a bunch. Conversely, on the other side of the ball, Eagles have the ball. What happens? Carson Wentz is holding on to the ball too long. I'm not going to blame this whole game on Carson. Okay? Does he have a fault in this? Absolutely. Okay? That fumble was horrible at that time, late in the first half, when you're still ahead, and you have a chance of anything else just to keep the ball away from the Patriots, so you maintain what at that time would have been a 10-6 lead going into half. Now, I mean, would it have mattered? Probably not. But at the same point, you gave the ball right back to the Patriots with key position. And what did I say in that video? The Patriots offense is struggling. What don't you want to do? Turn the ball over in prime field position for them. Give them field position, and that's what they did on that play, and that's on Carson. That was a bad fumble. He holds onto the ball too long. He's got to get rid of the ball. You know what? There is that saying, you live for the next down. You don't give up yards. And too many times tonight, we had Carson Wentz holding onto the ball too long, leading to, 5 sacks, I believe. And, I mean, you talk about from going to second and manageable to third and long on those sacks. Bad sacks. Or third down, and then it's fourth down, and they have to punt. By the way, Patriots punter did pretty nice game by him, although he couldn't recover a fumble. Looked like he had hands like an Eagle receiver on that play, but winnable game. Winnable game. This is the third time this season there was a winnable game that this team couldn't do. The Atlanta game earlier in the season, the Detroit game at home, and now the Patriots game at home. All winnable games. And I know it came down to one play that wasn't made at the end, but it didn't have to. They were winnable games. The Viking game, you got blown out in the second half. The Dallas game, they just never showed up to. Okay? But the other 3 losses on this team this season, winnable games that they let get away. Close games that they let get away. It's not all Carson. He does share blame. It's play calling, it's Doug Peterson, it's the offensive coordinators not being able to devise a good enough game plan. I mean, God, you have 2 weeks to prepare for this team. And I get it. Injuries are going to happen. You lose Jordan Howard, that was big. You lose Alshon Jeffrey, okay. But you got to still be able to try to run the ball. It's when this team loses 9 times out of 10, it's because this offense is unbalanced. Look at the losses. Look at the unbalance in the offense, pass to run. And I know it's a passing league. Everyone loves the pass. The Ravens are doing it by running the ball. New England has to adjust and run the ball a little more. It feels like you're on a hamster wheel. And we all know what is going to happen. And you can almost set it like a clock. Well, they ran the ball pretty good this week. So now next week, Doug's going to want to throw the ball a little more because, former quarterback, throw. And this offense now, I'm not talking about an offense that has explosive wide receivers. I'm talking about an offense with horrible wide receivers, slow, old wide receivers, or wide receivers that just can't catch, or young wide receivers that don't know the playbook. This isn't the wide receiving core that you want to try to throw the ball 40 times a game. It just isn't. And I know Ertz and Goddard are good tight ends. But even with that, you don't throw the ball 40 times. Particularly against the defense where their strength is the secondary. Look, they're lucky they didn't turn the ball over more than once. There was a couple passes in there the Patriots probably should have had. Now, there was a couple passes there the Eagles should have had, too, on defense that they dropped. McLeod in the end zone led to a field goal for the Patriots. Shouldn't have even had points there. McLeod should have intercepted that ball. I think Rouge Hill had a chance at an interception, went through the hands. Other corners had opportunities. I think Darby had an opportunity at interception once, went through the hands. Would have been a tough catch, but he still could have came down with it. Opportunities lost, in that side too. But again, defense gives up 17 points. You got to win this game. You got to find a way to win this game. The defense played a hell of a game. And again, they gave up 17. The touchdown by Edelman, passing touchdown was on third down. That shouldn't have happened. I think they let the receiver wide open. You're worried about Edelman. He was all the way back there, and he still had how many yards to go for a first down. And it looked like he was going to throw the ball. Maybe you play a little better coverage. I don't know. It was just one of those things. What can you do? But at the same point, that was the last points of the game for the Patriots. That got them up 17-10, and then that was it. That was the rest of the scoring, the rest of the game. So I can't sit here and blame the defense for giving up that one play when the offense gave up how many plays? And the play calling was absolutely atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. Horrible job. Know your opponent. It's as simple as that. Know your opponent. Know where their weaknesses are. The Patriots do it to teams all the time. And I keep using the Patriots as an example because that's the team that just wins all the time. So what other team better to give an example of? But you got to know your opponent. You got to know what the weakness of that opponent is so you can exploit it. And the weakness of the Patriots is the run. Run the ball at them. And I know the Ravens are having a hell of a season. And just because they were able to do it to the Patriots doesn't necessarily mean everything they did right against the Patriots the Eagles are going to do. But the underbelly of the Patriots defense is running. You got to run on them. Establish a running game. Hit them in the mouth. And it's a great defense they have. Absolutely. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. That defense is why they have the record they do right now. What, 9-1? I mean, their offense has been, pretty pedestrian after the start of the season when they were hot. I mean, you lose guys and they don't really have a burner on the outside. They're in a similar kind of situation that the Eagles are. The only difference is they do have Edelman, and that helps. And they have a system that works. Even though the quarterback may have taken a step back this season, finally. Winnable game. Winnable game. It just falls on this loss. Carson has a share of the blame. The receivers have a share of the blame. The coaching staff has a share of the blame. I think mostly on offense. This is where this game was lost. And it's disappointing. You know, a lot of people thought that this was going to be a loss anyhow coming into this game. But I never care about that because you have to let the game play out. And as the game was playing out, this was a winnable game. I don't care that on paper the Eagles it was going to be a tough game because you're playing the Patriots. When the game is happening and you have a chance to win the game and you see the reasons why they couldn't win the game, it just makes it that much more annoying. And I get the fact that, look, the fourth down play in the end zone and Aguilar again had a chance to, again, an Eagles receiver had a chance to make a big play at the end of a game and they don't. It goes through the hands and alligator arms. What can you do? It would have been a tough catch to make, but the ball was there. He should have caught it. He didn't. But there were plays not made before that. I mean, Carson overthrowing Zach Ertz, underthrowing another receiver, overthrowing what could have been first downs. It didn't have to come down to that 4th and 10 or whatever it was, the zero blitz the Patriots brought. And again, the pass was there. Nelson should have caught it. It would have been a tough catch, but it was there. It was in his hands, and he had his feet in bounds. He catches that extra point by Elliott. We're going to overtime. Who knows what happens? Even with all the miscues, even with all the unbalanced on offense, they still had a chance to send the game to overtime. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. Disappointing. And much too often I think this season we've been saying disappointing, not just after games, but by the oversights of this front office. I mean, not for nothing, again, and I said that the theme of this season for the Eagles so far has been dropping the ball. Dropping the ball. You have a front office in Howie Roseman who lost his nerve, doesn't make the big moves that you should make, can't draft wide receivers or cornerbacks. And when you can't do that, you have to get them in another way. Okay, and yes, there were ones out there, if you could have traded for them, you would have had to give up, some picks and whatnot. But again, if you're not going to draft well in those positions, you got to get them in another way. And I do think it's a shame they can't draft these positions. I mean, it was overlooked. They won a Super Bowl. They had success. But now you look at it now, and it's like, damn, man. Every draft, we can't draft a wide receiver worth anything. There were wide receivers out there to have this draft. DK Metcalf, I hate keep using him, but he was there. He was there, and instead of going after him, you go after another Pac-12 wide receiver, a possession receiver. No, you need an explosive receiver. I know you brought in Deshaun Jackson, but you can't trust D-Jax. He gets hurt every year. I'm not saying it was a bad move bringing him in. And it's a shame he's out all year. It's almost like that he goes out against Atlanta and it cost us the season almost offensively. But there was no other backup plan in place. Because it's not going to be Arcega-Whiteside. It's not going to be Mac Hollins. It's not going to be Aguilar. Should have drafted DK Metcalf. And you know what? A better GM probably does that. Seattle did it. Seattle brings in Jadeveon Clowney. Seattle goes out and gets Josh Gordon for nothing. Free agent. Slipped through the Eagles' fingers because they didn't want him. No, we're going to bring back Jordan Stonehands Matthews again. Another slow, plodding receiver who has trouble catching the ball. 6 targets today, 1 catch for 6 yards. And I know he just came off the street. Listen, Jordan Matthews wasn't with another team for a reason. He's not that good. All due respect to the man. All due respect. He's not that good. There's a reason he was out there. The Patriots let Josh Gordon go, and I don't know. I mean, I can't profess I've watched every game Josh Gordon plays. I know he's one of those guys they say takes plays off and whatnot, but I'll tell you what, he's better than Jordan Matthews. And maybe that's not saying a whole lot, But I'd rather have him on the team right now than Jordan Matthews. And they get him back because familiarity. He's a guy that knows the offense and they know him. And he knows them. He has the rapport with Carson. Big whoop-de-doo. He has a rapport with Carson. What did that do today? 1 catch for 6 yards. That's a great rapport. Wonderful. Again, he drops a pass that's catchable on the sideline. But these are the receivers that we have to have. When you lose Deshaun Jackson, should have gone after Emmanuel Sanders, didn't do it. Should have gone after Josh Gordon, didn't do it. There were other receivers perhaps you could have traded for, didn't do it. No, we're going to bring Jordan Matthews back. He's going to solve all the problems. Jay Ajayi comes back. Familiarity. All the guys that they brought in this season, former Eagles, mostly former Eagles. It's not always a bad thing to have comfort in players and know what players are. But at the same time, you have to... You can't just have an off season where all you do is maintain play. And this is the problem. This is the problem. Now this is the problem that comes with winning a Super Bowl. You get too attached to certain players. You can't let them go. We saw this with the Phillies for a while, right? After they won in 2008, and they had success after that, didn't win again, but they had some runs, and then they kept some of those guys way too long. Instead of going younger, replenishing. They never did. Haven't been back to the playoffs since, 2011, 2012, whatever it was, when Howard tore the Achilles and that was it? Against the Cardinals in the first round? You grow too attached to certain players because you won with them. And I think that's what Howie did. He grew too attached to certain players. Oh, look, Brandon Graham's having a pretty good year. But at the same time, you had a chance to... Even though you brought Brandon Graham back, get Jadeveon Clowney. Didn't do it. Minka Fitzpatrick would have been a perfect addition on this team. Didn't want to give up more than the Steelers did. Again, Howie, he was known as Trader Howie, right, for a while. Making moves. Of course, Joe Douglas was there with him. And Joe Douglas isn't there. And now we see Howie again kind of reverting back to keep the cards on the table Howie. And I'm not saying everything was perfect with Joe Douglas here, because let's not forget some of those drafts Joe Douglas was here for. Not getting guys just very comfortable with Pac-12 guys. I want SEC guys on this team now, okay? I want to draft guys from Alabama and Clemson. And I mean, you throw in Ohio State. I want those guys with speed. LSU. Difference makers. That's what I want. Enough of the Pac-12. Enough of that. Too many Pac-12 guys on this team. Look what happens. Too many Pac-12 guys drafted. Pac-12 receivers. Pac-12. Give me guys on programs that are winning programs in college. Good players. Speed. Difference maker type of players. For whatever reason, that's Howie. And maybe he got that from Chip Kelly. We're just going to draft all these Pac-12 guys. Maybe that's it. He can't get away from it. Frustrating. It was a frustrating game. It was a frustrating loss. We're 5-5. Dallas beats Detroit. So they're a game ahead. And again, they're not going to run away with the division. They're not going to run and hide. But we're at this part of the schedule right now where every game is so important. And we knew that these next 2 games, the Patriots, which is now done, and the Seahawks, if at very worst they have to split, and they still have a shot to do it if they can somehow beat Seattle next on Sunday, a 1 o'clock start, again flexed out of the 8 to back down to 1. I don't know. Did I see anything today that makes me feel any confident about this game against Seattle when you have a quarterback playing really good, top of his game, Russell Wilson? The defense played well today. But offensively, It's going to be a struggle again this week, particularly if Jordan Howard isn't there. It's going to be a struggle again this week for them to score points if they are one-dimensional. And my fear is if Jordan Howard doesn't play, or maybe even if Jordan Howard does play, Dougie's going to be wanting to put the ball in the air again. And not for nothing, Seattle, I know they're not quite the ferocious defense they once were, but they're still pretty good at getting pass rush. I mean, they do have Clowney, who the Eagles should have gotten, but okay. They got Clowney. They got Wagner. They got playmakers up front. It's still a stout defense. I mean, are they what they were? No. Are they the Patriots secondary? No. You can throw on them. You can have success offensively versus them. But they're still a good defense and a prideful defense, well-coached. It's a well-coached team. And Russell Wilson is if the season ended today, he's the league MVP. And he's a tough guy to go up against right now. He keeps plays alive with his feet. He gets away from pressure. He knows when to throw the ball away, not take a bad sack. He's as good as they come still in this league at scrambling, making plays, keeping plays alive with his feet. Showed that last week against the 49ers, giving them their first loss at home. Damn good quarterback. He's my favorite non-Eagle. I've said this for many years, and I'll continue to say this. Unfortunately, we haven't beaten him yet. But he's my favorite non-Eagle. I got a little figure of him over there on the counter. I am. I'm a fan of Russell Wilson. He's a quarterback that I've enjoyed watching play for many years. I was happy he won the Super Bowl those years ago. I have his Super Bowl jersey up in the collection, but I won't be wearing it this week. Don't worry. But no, I'm a fan of him. He's a player that I enjoy watching play, and unfortunately, we haven't had any success versus him. And I don't know how this game's going to go this week. Look, I mean, the Eagles are always good for winning a game no one thinks they're going to win, right? Or multiple games during a year that people don't give them any chance. So this would be a game that I'm sure going into the week, a lot of people are going to pick against them and watch they win, right? And then they'll lose a game. But see, here's the thing. Here's the thing about that. They could beat Seattle on Sunday. They could. They can win this game at Seattle. I mean, it's at home. It's, whatever. They can win against Seattle, I should say. It's at home. Who knows? Maybe they get up for it. They win the game. Who knows, right? Anything can happen any given Sunday, right? The old saying. But here's the problem. And this is where I think we all have to be realistic. And I still hope that this team wins the division, gets to the playoffs, and because when you get in, you have a shot. Get in, right? Here's the problem. And we're all saying about the strength of schedule, right? That the Eagles have an easier strength of schedule than Dallas does. Here's the difference. The Eagles, the rest of the way, after Seattle, they got to play Miami, the Giants twice, Washington, and Dallas, of course, the big one at home against Dallas in December, right? A lot of those games the Eagles are probably going to be favored in. The Eagles, for whatever reason, as much as as I just said, they're games that everyone thinks they're going to lose, they win. Well, there's games everyone thinks they're going to win, they lose. So it would not shock me that the Eagles lose a couple of these games that we all think they're going to win. I mean, it would. And look, the Miami game, even though Miami is tanking it now or whatever, I mean, they've actually played better in recent time, but it's in Miami. Who knows? They got to play the game at Washington, which will probably be a home game for the Eagles because I'm sure Eagle fans will take over that stadium like other fan bases do. But still, it's a road game, a division road game. You got to play the Giants twice in kind of short period of time. That kind of worries me because not for nothing. I mean, the Giants do have an semblance of receivers, including former Eagle, short-lived, but Golden Tate. So and Barkley, of course. So can I say with a straight face, seeing how this offense and Doug, forgets about running the ball from time to time and not having balance, and seeing how this team isn't the most consistent in the world, that they're just going to roll off win after win after win? Even if they beat Seattle, they're going to run the tape. I can't say that. I can't say that. I mean, for as much as we're saying, oh, some of these games the Eagles should win, there are games that we think Dallas is going to lose. Maybe they win. I mean, not for nothing. I think they play at New England next week. Look, I mean, did you see how New England's offense was playing today? Now, I hope that the Patriots beat the Cowboys next weekend. I hope that that's what happens. But at the same time, I mean, not for nothing, but what if their offense struggles again and Dallas, has a better offense right now than the Eagles do? Maybe Dallas scores a few more points. Maybe they win that game next week. A game that all of us is putting in ink that they're going to lose. Maybe they win that game. And if the Eagles lose to Seattle, now we're 2 back with 5 to go. And I know we play them here, and our schedule is easier on paper than theirs, but, I don't want to give them any credit. They did almost lose a game at Detroit today to the Matt Stafford-less Lions, but, hey, I mean, they have weapons on offense, which we don't have. They have Zeke. They have Cooper. Their other receivers are making plays. I can't say with a straight face that, all these games they're supposed to lose, they're definitely going to lose. Just as much as I can't say with a straight face all the games we're supposed to win on that stretch of games at the end, we're going to win all of them. We're going to run the table. This team hasn't won more than 2 games in a row all year. And we're going to just say, okay, they're just going to roll through all these teams at the end, regardless of what happens this week against the Seahawks. I can't say that. Yeah, on paper, our schedule's easier than Dallas. But look at the team we have. Look at the ineptness we have at wide receiver. Look at the play calling. And unless it gets better, unless Doug and the coaching staff can finally just put all this pass happiness away and decide that we're gonna establish a run, because that's the strength of this offense. Running the ball, establishing a running game, leading at the passing game. It opens things up even with a weak receiving core. And you saw it on that drive when they scored a touchdown to Goddard. The run led to the pass. And then they get away from it. So can I say with a straight face, the rest of the season, I believe in Doug Peterson, that he's gonna have great game plans the rest of the season, and we're gonna have balanced offense the rest of the season. Starting this week against Seattle, it's just going to roll through all through the rest of the season. I can't say that. I like the fact that defense is playing better. I like that. It's going to keep them in games. No turnovers today, but, they played a good game. They played a solid game. But this offense and the play calling, it frustrates me because it's so Jekyll and Hyde. We don't know what Eagles team is going to show up what week. You just don't know. It could be the team that beat the Packers in Green Bay or the Bills in Buffalo, or it could be the team that can't score more than 10 points against the Patriots at home in a winnable game, or loses to the Lions at home in a winnable game. I don't know what Eagles team is going to show up week to week, and it annoys me, and it's scary. Because, again, it is a winnable division. And they could roll off some wins and take this thing and get to the playoffs, or they could just blow up. No more injuries happen, and then that's the end of it. Or they lose more games that they should win. Winnable games that they just let get away. I don't know. And time's going to tell. The beauty of sports is that it's the best reality television you have going, because you just don't know what's going to happen. We feel lowest of lows one week, then the next week we're high as highs because we won a game, and people are feeling a little better about things or whatnot. I mean, it's a roller coaster ride. But you know what? When the team's 5-5 right now through 10 games, the record is what they are. And at this point, it just looks like a 500 team. Maybe a team that goes 9-7. I don't know. And 9-7 isn't going to win the division, I would imagine. unless they get things straightened out. And how many times have we said that this season? They got to get this straightened out. They got to get this straightened out. You know, and then they'll win a game here and there, and maybe they're figuring things out. And in the next game, here we go again, pass happy. With a poor receiving core, you're getting pass happy. I get it. You have a quarterback that you want to have throw the ball. I understand that. And he is a good quarterback. I know he's come under a lot of fire. And does he hold on to the ball too long? Does he take bad sacks? Yeah. He's got to get better at that. But I still feel the guy's a good quarterback in this league. I think we can win a lot of games with him. I think they just have to utilize him a little better. Roll him out more. Let him make plays with his feet. I'm not saying put himself in jeopardy, get himself hurt. But I see all these other offenses, you know, because I watch a lot of games. And I see these other offenses with these mobile quarterbacks and how they win. And we have a mobile quarterback, not to the speed factor of Jackson in Baltimore or Wilson in Seattle or Mahomes, like I said before, but a guy who's more than capable of pulling the ball down and going for it. Big quarterback, too, over 200 pounds, tough to bring down. Yeah, he's got to learn how to slide a little more. But, again, they're not utilizing that. They're making him a pocket passer, and he's not a pocket passer. So, look, Eagles go down 17-10 in a disappointing game at the Link today. Shout out to Eagle fans, though. They were making noise from start to finish. I mean, you know, they were certainly heard throughout the game. I know there was a lot of disappointment. I know there was a lot of moans and groans in the audience, in the stands, and rightfully so. It was ugly. I mean, it was a sloppy game offensively after they went up 10-0. They couldn't score again. And the offense, even with the injuries, there is no excuse to have that type of pass-to-run ratio. There is no excuse for that. 40 passes against a defense where their strength is the secondary. There's no excuses for that. There just isn't. There's a lot of guys that dropped the ball today. Doug Peterson, the coaching staff, dropped the ball. I do think Jim Schwartz had a good game plan, though. I mean, look, the defense that Jim Schwartz executed today, I know he's a guy that's come under fire in the past, and he had a horrible Super Bowl. Let's not. The Super Bowl, these two teams, this was not in this game. They even had a stat about the yards, like over 1,000 yards in the Super Bowl, and it was like 300. You know, what a difference a couple years make, right? Players get older, though. Things happen. Some players are off the teams. But I thought Jim Schwartz had a good game. I think the defense, for the most part, overall, had a good game. It's just the offense, again. Just way, way, way too one-sided. And it just makes it easy to defend. And these receivers, again, I mean, the Stonehands crew, I mean, it's just unbelievable how many times the ball's there, and they just drop it. They just drop it. And it's a helpless feeling. It's like every time the ball's in the air, you almost expect it to be an incomplete pass or an and I know Carson does not throw many interceptions, but it's almost like the ball's in the air, you're like, oh, here comes another incompletion. Yeah, there it is. And maybe we're lucky every now and then there's a pass interference called or whatever, but it's almost like a helpless feeling. You know, you have a ball, it's a contested play, an Eagles receiver goes up with a corner or a safety of the other team, and the safety in the corner bats the ball, or even if they don't get to the ball, the Eagles receiver tries to catch the ball and it goes through the hands. I mean, it's a helpless feeling. It is. And again, I look at Howie and I see the things he didn't do. Just via the draft and the offseason, and then, of course, in season. And there were players that could help this team. There were. And he wouldn't do it. Just kept going with the old familiar faces. Drop the ball. Drop the ball. That's the theme of the season so far. Dropping the ball. Well, I've rambled on here for just about 40 minutes. Tough one. I just... Look, I mean, it was a tough one. On paper, this was a tough game. We knew it. But as the game is going on, you see how winnable it is. And they never could make that big play offensively. And even after when they had a nice drive going, here come the miscues. Here comes the overthrows, the underthrow, the throw that was there in the end zone that Alligator Arms drops, and it's another L. And it doesn't get any easier. And like I said, you got Russell coming in, Danger Russ, and the Seattle Seahawks, and some players on that team that should be here. Clowney, Metcalf, Gordon. It's like the Eagles' wish team coming in, right? It's like these are the players that we were all saying, oh, we should draft, we should get this guy, and they're all in Seattle. So here's like the what could have been team coming into Philly. But this is the game the Eagles win, right? Because everyone's going to think they lose. No one's going to be thinking good about this game. Everyone's going to go into this game trepidation and everything, and the Eagles will find a way to win the game. And then they'll lose a game to like Miami or the Redskins or the Giants or something. It's that ebb and flow. It's like I said, I don't know what Eagles team is going to show up what week. I have no idea. It's one of those things. All we can do as a fan is watch the game and then make our videos here on YouTube. Either praising or in agony. And tonight's an agony. I do want to say, and I neglected to say this, there's a couple things I want to say here. First and foremost, shout out to all the troops out there. I know Veterans Day was this past week, and I neglected to say in the past videos about that, but I do want to give a shout out, of course, in remembrance of all the brave men and women who have fought, who have served, or continue to serve this country. And big shouts to all of you out there. And I know the NFL, today the Eagles had their Armed Forces Day, and they wear the camouflage and everything. And the NFL has their equipment and all, and it's for a good cause, and it is. It's you can never thank these real heroes enough. It's just what they do is I couldn't do it. But I certainly appreciate, what they do and what they stand for. At the end of the day, it's a game. We have no saying on whether the team wins or loses. If Nelson Alligator Arms catches a ball or most times doesn't, if Doug Peterson gets too pass happy, these are all trivial things in life. The real things in life are what you do every day. How you can make ends meet with your own lives, and of course with these brave men and women out there risking their lives for us. And so obviously, thank you all so very much. And to those of you who are still serving, Godspeed back. Hopefully, safe return to all of you. I know the holiday season's coming up. It's a time for family. Hope all of you can be with family very soon. And thank you again. And I do wear the hat. This is actually last season's one, but the remembrance hat, and it's for all of you. I had a cousin who served in the Navy for years there, and certainly, look, it's not something I could have done or could do. It's just I know I couldn't, but I do have a lot of appreciation for all of those who do. So thank you. Secondly, after that, this is talk about trivial, but I do want to give a shout out to Mike Trout. 3 times now AL MVP, not the last. He'll be an MVP again, probably multiple times, as long as he stays healthy the rest of his career. Tremendous player, best player in the league, an Eagles season ticket holder who never forgot about his roots. I know there was a lot of Philly fans who were hoping this past offseason that the Phillies could somehow land Mike Trout, and the Angels figured, you know what, we're just going to keep him here. Smart move by them, okay? And I don't blame them for bringing him back and making sure he stays an Angel for many years to come, maybe for the rest of his career. And I can't blame Mike Trout for being there. There were some Philly fans who were, angry at him for some reason. Why do you want to stay there? You could come to Philly. Well, he stayed there because he's a loyal guy. That was the team that drafted him. I mean, not for nothing, they gave him a chance. They were his first organization, and they showed him a lot of love and a lot of dollar signs. So I don't blame him for staying with the Angels, and whether or not he'll ever win with the Angels, who knows? Obviously sports is just so unpredictable. But it does not take away, just because he plays there and not in Philly, it doesn't take away from the fact that he is a tremendous player, and he is also a tremendous person who never forgot his roots, who still stays in the area, still attends Eagles games, goes to other Philly sporting events, is one of the people in the crowd, in the tailgates, and just a humble superstar. My goodness, how rare is that? But he is a tremendous player, and he's a tremendous person, and he's a tremendous Eagles fan. So shout out to the MVP 3 times now in the American League, one of the youngest to do so 3 times over, and it's tremendous. He is my favorite non-Philly. I wish he was a Philly, but he's my favorite non-Philly, and he's a tremendous player, and he always remembers his roots, and it's definitely something that is very admirable. So fly, Eagles, fly, obviously, and for Mike Trout, congratulations to you, and I know you'll have many more MVP trophies in your trophy room, in your man cave, or wherever you keep them, or your family keeps them to come. And hey, you know what? Maybe this team will get better. We'll have to see. But shout out to Mike Trout, American League MVP for a 3rd time in his young and tremendous career so far. And like I said, shout out to all the troops too. So that's going to do it for me. 46 going on 47 minutes. Every time I do hope to make these shorter videos, and it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't. Particularly after losses, it just. I don't know. It is. I need like a timer, and even then, I would just keep going. But anyhow, thanks for hanging in there with me for those of you who could make it. Disappointing, a winnable game that just they aren't able to win, and it's one of those things. It's maddening, particularly if Dallas won, we could have stayed pace with them. But hey, maybe the Patriots. I know we're not fond of them around here, but maybe they can do us a solid next week and beat Dallas, and hopefully the Eagles can find a way to beat the Seahawks, and we're all tied up again. And even though it's unpredictable. If it is an easier stretch for the Eagles than Dallas, we'll have to let this thing play out. I know it's a monster game in some weeks when they come here, because if anything, you cannot lose that one. I mean, obviously, if the Eagles do win some games here and it's close still in the division and Dallas comes in and wins it, just, well, I mean, there it goes, right? There's no going back now. That's it. They win the division again. But it's a week-to-week deal. Can't think too far ahead right now. It's another monster game this Sunday in Seattle. Do I think the Eagles have a shot to win the game? Sure. Do I think it's a tough game? Absolutely. Do I think that there's a chance if they do what they did tonight that they'll lose? Sure. Because, again, if you're going to be unbalanced on offense, even if Jordan Howard's not playing next week, and I hope he does, I hope he comes back and plays, but regardless, you have to have balance on offense. You just do. And unfortunately, it's just much too often, even though they know how they won those games, and because their offense is balanced and they're winning games, and then they just get away from it. It's just, it's like it's maddening. It is. But we'll see what happens. I'll talk more about the Seahawks game, as the week gets closer to the weekend, and we'll see what happens. Of course, we'll have the Festive Four again. Festive did okay again this weekend, so good things there. One thing's consistent has been Festive's picks. Festive knows how to pick. Not for nothing. Festive needs to be a coach on the Eagles right now. Offensive coordinator, Festive. All right, everyone. We go out with a laugh. But anyhow, that's going to do it for me for this vid. And, it's tough even after a loss to do this. But let's go, Birds. Let's get back to that consistent offense in ebb and flow, running the ball. Balanced offense. Doug's got to find a way to do it going into Seattle, going into this week against Seattle, rather. He got a league MVP coming in. It's going to be a tough one, but you know what? That's why we watch. You never know what can happen. For all we know, everyone's going to pick the Eagles to lose. They can win this game. So we'll see. All right, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.